Okay, we got a lot to get through, so I want to go through it quickly, so I'm hoping to not go too fast, but this is how we do some of the same things we've done in Google Docs, how we would do it in Microsoft Word. So I've already got Word started up and I've already got a document. I want to go through a few things. I want to go through line spacing, paragraph spacing, and indents. So to start out with, I've got 3 paragraphs here. I'm going to select them all. And then I've got a couple of options. One of my favorite things to do is to do right click, and from there I can go to paragraph. Also, another option is up on the ribbon there's a little launcher. So there's a thing that says paragraph, and at the end of that there's a little launch box, and yes, there's another way of doing things, but I'm just going to stick with that. From within there I can do paragraph spacing, so I can go before the paragraph and after the paragraph. I don't have to do both. I can do one or the other. I can make one a little bit larger. I could do different line spacing from within there, but I'm not going to bother with that too much. And then I'm going to click OK, and I've got some space in between my paragraphs. At the same time, I'm going to take my first paragraph, and within the paragraph launcher I have this option to do indentations, and again I can do that from from a different spot. I can do that from right click, and I can do it somewhere else as well, but we're not going to worry too much about that. Indents are up near the top, so I can do a left indent, which is going to push the whole paragraph over, and I can do a left and right indent, and I don't necessarily have to have them both the same, and that indents the paragraph left and the right. I can do a different kind of indent. So the other kind that we had, I'm going to right click this time, paragraph. This time I'm going to do a special indent of a first line, and I'm going to have that go by 1/2. Click OK. If you look up in the ruler, you see similar to what we had before, and if I just hover over this, I have a left indent on the very, very bottom. I have a hanging indent as an upward arrow, and that arrow pointing down is a first line indent. If I were to click and drag that like we were doing in Google Docs, I get the first line indent. So I can use the ruler, but I don't have to. In Google Docs, I have to use the ruler. And the third kind of indent, the second kind of indent that we had, or I guess the third, because we can left indent the whole paragraph, we can first line indent, is a hanging indent. And with a hanging indent, I can go to the paragraph launcher again, special indent, hanging indent, bump that by however I want it to be, and I get the hanging indent. And again, the ruler, I can use the ruler. It's sometimes a bit of a nuisance, but it's our only option in Docs, and it's a trickier option in Docs. Okay, so there's indents and paragraph spacing. I'm just going to get rid of this document. I'm just going to minimize it, and I'm going to look at this one because I want to talk about styles. We're going to talk about how to put styles on, modifying styles, making a new style, and again, I want to go through this quickly enough that it doesn't end up being a very long video, but slowly enough that you've seen enough to know how to do it. So up along the ribbon, I have these different styles. So I'm in the first line there. Right now it says normal. If I go to title, I have that option. I also have a launcher, little arrow down the bottom, and if I click that, I get this thing that spills out. So I can do a title. I also, and this is one of the things that's unique about Word that you can't really find in Google Docs, is up here on the top. Okay, so the ribbon starts out looking like this. You have this option to change styles, and the style set. So within the style, there's a bunch of pre-formatted style sets. So all of these represent titles, the title style for different style sets. So there's a lot more options and a lot more things in the can, but I'm going to keep it at that for now. And then where it says breakfast menu, I've got different things that I can do with that. I'm going to open the launcher again, so I could make that a subtitle. Not sure I like that. Beverages, maybe I want that to be heading number 1, and so on. So selecting the headings, selecting the styles, really easy and very, very similar as it was in Docs. The main difference is I have a lot more options, and there are more names for options, not just heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, and so on. What if I don't like that particular heading? What if I want to invent a brand new heading? So I'm going to do that. I'm going to take this item here, a fruity oatmeal, and I'm going to make a new heading. And how I'm going to do that is within that launcher and within that menu that I get up on the side, if you look down the bottom, there's 3 buttons on the bottom, and one of them, if you hover the mouse over, says New Style. And if I click on New Style, I open up a dialog box that allows me to come up with a new style. So I'm going to give this thing a name. Because I can't think of a better one, and I'm going to make it, going to keep it that, and I'm going to make it a little bit larger, and I'm going to make it bold, and I'm going to maybe change the color of it just so that it stands out. I'm not going to like this. I'm not going to want to keep it. I'm going to want to have it centered. And near the bottom, I've got a couple of options. I can have it to apply only in the document. I can have it apply forever, and then I'm going to click OK, and I have that new style. And if I were to click on something else and I go to my list, there it is in the list. I can apply it. What if you have a style that you don't want to invent a new style, but you do want to modify that style? Well, from within this menu item menu on the side, on the right-hand side of any one of those style names, there's this little downward pointing arrow. And if you click on that, there's an option to modify it. And when you modify it, you go to the same dialog box that I was just at for making a new one. So I could, I'm not going to change the name, but I could, if I wanted to, change what the subtitle looks like. Maybe I don't want it to be italics, maybe I want it to be underlined or bold or something else like that. I want to show you a few more options, and with this program there's a ton of things you can do. They're not always a good idea, but there's a lot of options. So right on the bottom left hand corner there's this option to format, hidden down in the bottom there. And if I click on format, I have a lot of options, and I can modify the font of the paragraph, tabs, border. I'm going to go to border. You can see some of the options there, and you can try some of them out, although honestly font and paragraph, those are the same options that you see above, make it in bold and so on. I'm going to go to, though, border. And when I go to border, I have some options, and I'm just going to grab a couple. So I'm going to go with a dotted line. I'm going to make it, I've been doing a lot of red, so let's make it something else. I'm going to make it a little bit thicker, maybe like that. I don't want it to go all the way around, so I'm going to click on I can also use these buttons here, turn the sides and top and bottom off and on. I can have that apply to the paragraph. Sometimes I'll have other options, but I'm going to keep it at paragraph. And what ends up happening is, I'm going to make that bold as well. Click OK. So now my subtitle, let's go back and modify that just a little tiny bit more. Modify. Have it center aligned. Yeah, I like that. So now anytime I use subtitle, what's going to happen is if I went to grains and applied that to there, so that was the subtitle, there we go. Click on it and it gets centered, the font changes, I get this dashed border underneath that goes all the way across. I can't do that border in Google Docs. There is a way, but it's really difficult. So here I can do it really, really quickly. So I can make a new style, I can modify an existing style, I can just bring in styles, and I can have different style sets. We're going to do a couple of assignments where we're doing that, and you're going to get to play with styles in a different program. And that's all there is to styles. Hopefully I didn't go too fast, although rewind or rewatch is always an option. See you in class.